The night was quiet, too quiet for Riven Hale. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring out the window at the stars. Normally the sky was just a calm, black canvas dotted with tiny lights. But tonight something was different. A low hum filled the air, soft but strange. It wasn't like the wind or a passing car. It was deep, like the sound of something very old waking up. Riven felt it in his chest, a vibration that seemed to call to him. He rubbed his eyes. "It's just my imagination," he muttered. But the hum grew louder, and the hairs on his arms stood on end. The room shook slightly and his books fell off the desk. Riven jumped back, staring at the ceiling. Then he saw it, a silver light flickering through the clouds outside, bright and steady. It grew closer and brighter until it filled the room with a soft glow. The light seemed alive. Shapes moved inside it, twisting and turning, forming patterns that Riven could not understand. His heart raced. He felt a warmth spread across his chest, gentle but intense, like the sky itself was touching him. He reached out, and the moment his fingers brushed the air, the symbols inside the light burned into his mind. Shapes of triangles, circles and lines, all moving in rhythm like they were speaking to him. Then suddenly the light shot upward, leaving the room dark again. Riven collapsed on his bed, breathing hard. Something had changed. He looked at his hand and froze. There, glowing faintly, was the same symbol he had seen in the light. It was small like a tattoo, but it pulsed with energy. He touched it and a shiver ran up his arm. The symbol seemed to respond, growing brighter, and he heard a whisper in his mind. Not words exactly, but a feeling, a promise and a question at the same time. "You are chosen." The next morning Riven tried to act normal, but nothing worked like before. His alarm clock refused to ring. His phone flickered and went blank when he touched it. Even the toaster sparked when he put bread in. Small things, almost meaningless, but enough to make him nervous. His mother noticed and frowned. "Are you feeling okay, Riven?" she asked. He nodded, forcing a smile, but he could not tell her. He did not understand it himself. School was no different. As he walked through the crowded halls, lights flickered overhead. Computers in the lab turned on and off without reason. Students glanced at him strangely. Riven tried to ignore it, but the symbol on his hand burned faintly under his sleeve. Every time he felt it, the hum from last night returned, soft and insistent. He wanted to hide, to run away, but something inside him pushed him forward, toward the unknown. That evening Riven went to the field behind his house. The sky was clear, stars scattered like diamonds. He sat on the grass, staring up, and the hum returned, louder this time. He felt it vibrating through the ground, through his body, like it was calling him. Then, above him, the sky split with a silver light again. This time he did not flinch. Instead he stood and reached out toward it. The symbol on his hand glowed brightly, and for a moment he felt a connection to something vast and ancient. A voice, soft and deep, echoed in his mind. "Riven Hale, you are ready?" The words were not spoken aloud, but they resonated as if the universe itself had spoken. Riven's knees shook, but he felt calm too. The light above twisted and formed a shape he could recognize now. A massive dragon, not real but somehow alive, glowing and shimmering in the night sky. It bowed its head slightly, acknowledging him. Riven stumbled back. "A dragon?" He rubbed his eyes. "This isn't real," he whispered. But when he looked again, the shape remained. It was not frightening, only enormous and magnificent, radiating a quiet power. And then, one by one, smaller lights appeared, forming the shapes of other dragons, ancient and wise. They circled above, silent, watching him. Riven could feel them, not just with his eyes but in his heart. They knew him. Days passed, but nothing seemed normal anymore. Riven could not sleep without hearing the hum. He tried to tell his friends, but they laughed it off. "It's just stress," one said. But Riven knew it was not stress. He could feel the symbol on his hand pulsing whenever he thought about the dragons. And he realized something terrifying and exciting at the same time. He was not ordinary anymore. One night, the hum returned, louder and closer than ever. Riven ran to the field, heart pounding. The sky glowed silver and the dragons appeared again. They moved gracefully, almost like they were dancing. Riven lifted his hand, and the symbol flared brighter than ever. For a moment, he felt the weight of their presence, the power of beings that had existed before humans had ever walked the earth. And he understood something. They were waiting for him. They had been sleeping for centuries, hidden among the stars, waiting for the one who could awaken them. And now Riven Hale, an ordinary boy until yesterday, held the key. He could feel the energy linking him to them, guiding him, calling him forward. The dragons were not coming to harm him. They bowed before him, not in fear but in recognition. Riven fell to his knees, staring at the sky, heart racing. His life, his world, everything he had known, had changed in a single night. And though fear and wonder mingled in his chest, he felt something else too, a strange certainty that he was meant for something greater than he had ever imagined. The hum faded into a quiet pulse, like a heartbeat shared between him and the dragons above. And Riven Hale, the boy who had been ordinary, stood and whispered into the night, I will try. For the first time he felt ready. The stars seemed to shine brighter, and the dragons above shimmered with life. They had awakened, and so had he. Something ancient and powerful was stirring in the universe, and Riven knew this was only the beginning. Far away from Earth, in the deep black of space, a great slumber was ending. Stars shimmered and planets moved silently, but in the hidden corners of the galaxy, something ancient stirred. A massive figure moved, scales glinting like metal in the distant starlight. This was Solverin, one of the oldest dragons, older than any human could imagine. For thousands of years he had slept, waiting for a signal. That signal had come, the symbol on Riven Hale's hand. Solverin opened his golden eyes, and the galaxy seemed to respond. Comets changed their paths slightly, asteroid belts hummed softly, and distant worlds pulsed faintly with light. The energy from Earth reached him like a thread pulling him awake. He lifted his massive wings, stretching them slowly, deliberately, as though testing the strength of his own body after centuries of rest. Around him, other dragons awoke as well. Some shimmered with silver light, others with bronze, and a few with scales that looked like liquid fire. They were all enormous, ancient beyond measure, and they sensed something new. A human yet not ordinary had returned the frequency of origin. Back on Earth, Riven felt the pulse grow stronger. He was standing in the field behind his house, staring at the sky. The symbol on his hand throbbed like a living thing, and he felt a connection he could not explain. It was like a voice calling through his bones, through his heart, telling him that the dragons were waking. He shivered and whispered, "They're real, they're really real." The hum that had haunted him for days now had a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Thousands of light years away, the dragons began to move. Orithos, a dragon with translucent scales that reflected the light of distant suns, opened his eyes. His gaze was calm but sharp. He had slept for centuries, guarding secrets of the universe, waiting for the one who could guide them. The moment he sensed Riven's mark, a thrill ran through him. A human, one they had never seen before, could command the ancient wisdom of the dragons not with force but with presence. Orithos stretched his massive neck and let out a soft, rumbling sound, a greeting to his brothers who were awakening. Meanwhile, Riven's life became stranger. At school, computers shut down when he passed by. Lights flickered overhead, and even the small electronic toys in the classroom reacted to his presence. At first, his friends laughed, thinking he was joking. But Riven could not explain what was happening. His hand glowed faintly under his sleeve, and sometimes when he concentrated, he could see shapes moving in the air, shapes of dragons hovering just beyond the vision of others. That evening, the hum became stronger, vibrating through the ground, through the air, and through Riven himself. He ran to the field, feeling a pull he could not resist. The sky split with silver light, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Above him, enormous shapes shimmered into view. Dragons, hundreds, maybe thousands, circling in the night sky. Some wings spanned hundreds of meters, scales glittering like stars themselves. They moved gracefully, slowly, like dancers performing a ritual older than time. Riven's heart pounded. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. The symbol on his hand flared brightly, and the dragons seemed to notice. One of them, a dragon with deep blue scales and eyes like molten gold, descended slowly. He landed at the edge of the field, so enormous that the ground trembled beneath him. This was Virelius, a guardian of galaxies long forgotten. He bowed slightly, a gesture of recognition, not of submission. The air around him shimmered with energy. "You carry the signal," Virelius said, not aloud but in Riven's mind. The words were calm, firm, and filled with meaning. Riven stumbled backward, staring at the dragon. He tried to speak but found no words. The dragon lowered his head, and in that moment Riven felt something he had never felt before: trust. A connection that went beyond fear or awe. High above, the other dragons formed a ring in the sky. Each one lowered its head slightly, acknowledging Riven. Their movement was synchronized, almost like a dance, showing that they were aware of his presence, waiting for his decision. Riven's mind raced. He was just a boy, small and ordinary compared to these enormous beings. How could he guide them? Could he really be the one they had been waiting for? The hum in the air grew into a rhythm, and the symbols he had seen in the sky before returned, floating around him like tiny lights. They moved in patterns, pulsing in time with the dragon's wings. The connection was overwhelming. Riven felt energy running through him, not painful but strong like a tide that could carry him across the stars. And then he realized, the dragons were not coming to harm him. They were waiting for him, recognizing him as something greater than a boy, something new and important. As the night deepened, Riven stood still, letting the dragon's presence wash over him. Orithos circled higher, then landed on a nearby hill, massive and serene. He lowered his head to Riven's level, and the boy could feel the dragon's thoughts, calm but deep. You are the one. You can guide us. Riven swallowed hard. I don't know if I can, he whispered. The words echoed in his mind, carried by the rhythm of the hum. The dragons waited patiently. There was no threat, no hurry, only understanding. For the first time, Riven understood something important. Humans were small, fragile, but that did not mean they could not be important. And perhaps, in this vast universe, even an ordinary boy could awaken something extraordinary. The dragons lifted their heads, wings folding gracefully. The sky above glowed faintly, filled with the light of their presence. Riven's hand pulsed, and the symbol on it burned brighter than ever, as if responding to the dragon's recognition. He felt a warmth and a certainty he had never known. He was connected to them not as a master, not as a servant, but as something unique, a bridge between the ancient and the new. For hours, Riven stayed in the field, staring at the dragons. Slowly, he began to realize that his life would never be the same. The dragons had awakened because of him, and now, in some small but vital way, he was part of their world. The stars above no longer seemed distant or cold. They felt alive, full of purpose, waiting for his guidance. And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Riven Hale, the boy who had thought he was ordinary, understood something he had never imagined. The universe had chosen him, and the dragons were ready to follow. The night sky above Earth was quiet, almost too quiet, but Riven Hale could feel it trembling. He stood in the field behind his house, staring up as the stars shimmered differently than before. The hum in his chest pulsed faster, and the symbol on his hand glowed brighter than it had ever done. He had felt the dragons before, but now there was something new. Something bigger. Something closer. Suddenly, a silver light appeared in the sky, unlike anything Riven had ever seen. It was not a shooting star, not a plane, not even a satellite. It hovered, massive and glowing, like a star had fallen to Earth. Its surface shimmered, reflecting the moonlight, and it moved with a purpose, slowly descending toward the field. Riven's heart raced. The symbol on his hand flared, and he felt a pull, gentle but firm, guiding him toward the light. As the object drew closer, the shape became clear. It was a ship, but not like any human technology. It was vast, shaped like a silver wing, smooth and alive, with faint lines of glowing light running along its surface. The air around it hummed with energy. Riven felt a strange calm, as if the ship knew him, as if it had waited for him for centuries. He took a cautious step forward, then another. The light enveloped him, warm and safe, lifting him slightly off the ground. He was being pulled toward the ship, not by force but by connection. Inside the ship, the air shimmered with energy. Massive forms moved in the shadows, wings folding, scales glinting in the silver light. Riven could sense them all, ancient dragons awakened and waiting. One by one their eyes turned toward him, golden, silver, amber, filled with wisdom and recognition. They were immense, far larger than anything he had imagined, yet there was no threat in their gaze. They lowered their heads slightly, a gesture of respect. A voice echoed in Riven's mind, calm and deep. Riven Hale, you are the chosen frequency. We have waited for you. The voice came from a dragon named Orithos, his scales shining like liquid metal. He moved closer, wings folding with a grace that made the ship feel like a forest of stars. You carry the signal that can guide us. Do you understand what this means? Riven shook his head, speechless. I don't know. I'm just a boy. The symbol on his hand flared as if in response. Orithos tilted his head, a small movement yet powerful. A boy, yes. But more than that, you are human. Humans see the universe in a way we cannot. You carry hope, creativity, and courage. That is why you are needed. Other dragons began to circle within the chamber, their wings folding and unfolding slowly, like the beat of a great heart. One, a young dragon with sapphire blue scales, came closer, eyes curious and intelligent. Do you feel it? The dragon asked, not aloud but in Riven's mind. He nodded, unsure how to explain the rush of energy and warmth he felt. "We are waiting for you to guide us," the dragon continued. "The universe has changed and we have awakened because of you." Riven felt a strange mixture of fear and awe. He was small compared to them, ordinary in every way he could see, yet the dragons treated him with a quiet reverence. They did not bow out of fear but out of recognition. The hum in his chest grew louder, and the symbol on his hand burned brightly. He felt as if his heartbeat was syncing with theirs, linking him to something vast and ancient. Orithos spoke again, his voice calm but commanding. "The Chamber of Recognition has recorded your presence. You are the human who can guide stars. Your choices will shape the paths of worlds. We do not ask you to command us with force, only to guide with your vision, your heart, and your courage." Riven took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. He had always been an ordinary boy, school, homework, friends, but now he was standing inside a ship with creatures older than planets themselves, and they were listening to him. The weight of it pressed on him, yet he felt something strange. A sense of purpose, a sense that he belonged to something greater. The dragons moved closer, forming a circle around him. Their scales shimmered with light, reflecting the silver walls of the chamber. Riven lifted his hand and the symbol pulsed, responding to their presence. He felt a warmth spread through him, a connection stronger than he could describe. One by one the dragons bowed their heads, acknowledging him as their guide. Not with fear, not with submission, but with respect. Outside the ship, the sky was still dark, but faint streaks of silver and gold shimmered across the horizon. The energy of the dragons and the ship reached Earth, though no one else could see it. Birds paused in their flight, the wind held its breath, and the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if recognizing the moment. Riven felt small, yet enormous, like a thread connecting Earth to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. "You will not be alone," Orithos said, moving closer. "One of us will remain with you, teach you, guide you, and protect you. You will learn to use the frequency to communicate and to understand our ways. In return, we will follow your guidance, not as masters, not as servants, but as allies." Riven swallowed hard. "But I don't know how. I've never done anything like this." The dragons remained still, patient. The young sapphire dragon tilted its head as if smiling. "No one expects you to know everything at first. You will learn. And humans, more than any other being, have a gift we cannot create. Oh, you will remind us of why life is precious." For the first time, Riven felt something lift inside him, a courage he did not know he had. He raised his hand and the symbol glowed even brighter. The dragons bowed slightly, wings folding in a gesture of readiness. Orithos's eyes gleamed. "Then it begins. Not with force, not with fear, but with understanding. You will guide us, and together we will see the universe differently." Riven looked around at the dragons, feeling their ancient presence and immense power. He realized that life, even in its smallest human form, could touch beings older than stars. And in that moment, standing in the Chamber of Recognition, he understood that his life as an ordinary boy was over. A new life, filled with wonder, responsibility, and connection to something ancient and magnificent, had begun. The hum of energy continued, steady and comforting. The dragons lifted their heads, wings folding gracefully, ready to follow the boy who had been ordinary until now. Rivenhale took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "I will try. I will guide you." The ship shimmered around him, alive with dragons and energy. Outside, the night sky was full of stars, but now it felt alive, full of purpose. The arrival of the Guardians was only the beginning, and Riven knew that his ordinary life was gone forever. Rivenhale sat on the smooth silver floor of the ship, staring at the dragons around him. Their eyes, bright and ancient, watched him patiently. The hum of energy from the symbol on his hand filled the room like a heartbeat. He felt small. Just a boy. How could he, an ordinary human, guide these immense beings? Virelius, the dragon with deep blue scales and golden eyes, stepped closer. His wings folded gently against his body, and his voice echoed softly in Riven's mind. "You are the one we have waited for," he said. "We awaken because of you. But now you must decide. Will you guide us, or will you remain on Earth as you were?" Riven swallowed hard. He looked at the dragons circling the chamber, their wings like flowing shadows of light. He thought about his small life, school, friends, his room at home. He wanted to run back, to live simply and forget all of this. But when he glanced at the symbol on his hand, glowing with warmth, he felt a pull he could not ignore. "What if I fail?" he whispered. "I'm just a boy. How can I lead creatures so enormous and ancient?" The dragons remained still, calm yet attentive. Virelius lowered his head, letting Riven see the wisdom in his eyes. You do not need to command us with strength, the dragon said. You need only guide. Humans have something we cannot create: hope. You remind us why life matters, why the universe is worth protecting. Riven thought about Earth, the small blue planet that seemed fragile in the vast galaxy. He thought of the people he knew, the animals, the forests, the oceans. And he thought of the dragons, creatures older than planets, waiting for him to make a choice. He realized that this was not about power. It was about responsibility, about seeing the universe through human eyes and showing the dragons what it meant to care. The young sapphire dragon from before hovered closer, wings gently beating the air. You do not have to do this alone, the dragon said in Riven's mind. One of us will remain with you, teach you and protect you. Together you will learn how to use the frequency. Together you will guide us. Riven closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the dragon's presence around him. He felt their patience, their understanding, and their trust. No one else on Earth could feel this, could see these ancient creatures bowing before him, waiting for his choice. And yet, he realized that he did not feel fear anymore. Instead, he felt a strange courage growing in his chest. What will I have to do? Riven asked finally. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. Virelius lowered his head even closer. You will listen. You will watch. You will guide with wisdom and heart. The universe is changing and our awakening must follow your vision. Conflicts will arise, challenges beyond your imagination, but the dragons will follow your lead. Your choices will shape lives not with force but with understanding. Riven nodded slowly. The words were heavy but they also felt right. He looked at the dragons again, their wings folded in grace, their eyes filled with patience. He thought about the hum in his chest, the pulsing symbol on his hand, and the feeling of connection that had drawn him here. He realized that even if he was ordinary he could make a difference. I will try, Riven said, his voice stronger now. The dragon's eyes brightened. Wings stretched slightly, a ripple of light moving across their scales like a wave. They lowered their heads in acknowledgement, not in fear but in respect. Riven felt the symbol on his hand pulse brighter, as if answering their acknowledgement. Virelius moved closer, brushing his massive head against Riven's shoulder. The dragon's warmth was comforting, grounding him in a way he had never known. Courage is not the absence of fear, Virelius said, but the choice to act despite it. You are ready, Riven. Hail. The universe has chosen you and we follow your guidance. Riven took a deep breath. He felt the weight of responsibility but also a strange exhilaration. He thought about what it would mean, traveling across the stars, meeting new worlds, guiding dragons who had slept for centuries. He realized that he did not have to be perfect. He only had to try to act with heart and understanding. That was enough. The young sapphire dragon hovered closer, resting its head near Riven's hand. We are ready to learn from you, the dragon said. Not as teachers but as companions. Together we will see the universe differently. Riven smiled faintly. It was a strange thought, that these enormous beings older than stars would follow his guidance. But it also felt right. He looked out of the ship's window, seeing Earth below, a small blue marble in the vast darkness. And he realized something important. Even a small, ordinary human could make a difference in a universe so large. He could guide dragons not because he was strong but because he cared. Because he understood life in a way they could not. Riven raised his hand again, feeling the symbol burn brightly. The dragons around him lowered their heads slightly, wings folding in quiet elegance. The hum in his chest became steady, like a heartbeat shared between him and the ancient beings. He felt connected not as a boy to monsters, but as a human to guardians of the universe. I will guide you, Riven said firmly. But promise me, no harm will come to innocent life. We will protect, not destroy. The dragons paused, then lowered their heads fully as if agreeing. The chamber seemed to glow with a warm, golden light. For the first time Riven felt ready. The weight of the decision, the fear, the uncertainty, all of it was still there but it no longer held him back. He realized that being ordinary did not mean being powerless. Even a boy could lead dragons if his heart was true. The hum faded into a gentle pulse, steady and calm. Riven looked at Virelius and the other dragons surrounding him. He was not alone. He was a guide, a bridge between humanity and beings older than stars. And though the future was unknown, he knew one thing clearly: he had made his choice. Riven Hale, once an ordinary boy, had stepped into a role greater than anything he had imagined. The dragons were awake, the universe was watching, and he was ready to lead. The adventure had begun. The first light of dawn touched Earth, but Riven Hale was no longer thinking about home. He stood on the deck of the silver-winged ship, looking out at the stars. The dragons surrounded him, their massive forms glowing softly in the light of distant suns. Riven could feel the hum of energy in his chest, steady and strong, pulsing with the symbol on his hand. It was no longer frightening. It was part of him, part of a connection that spanned galaxies. Elthyra, the young sapphire dragon who had become his companion, hovered nearby. Her wings flickered like liquid light as she moved gracefully through the ship. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice gentle in Riven's mind. He nodded, though he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. "I think so," he said. "I want to try. I want to help." The dragons responded to his words not with sound, but with movement. They lifted their wings and the ship seemed to respond, glowing brighter, humming with energy. Riven felt it in his chest, in his hands, in every part of him. He realized that he was no longer just a boy from Earth. He was a guide, a bridge between humans and ancient beings. Virelius stepped forward, towering and calm. "Your first task is simple," he said in Riven's mind. "See the universe as it is, not as it appears. Understand the lives that exist in it and help us protect them. We will follow your lead. The dragons awaken, but you bring purpose." Riven took a deep breath and raised his hand. The symbol on his palm flared brightly, reaching out like a beacon. Across the ship, the dragons lowered their heads in acknowledgement, wings folding gracefully. For a moment Riven felt a strange peace. He was not alone. He had allies, guides, and companions. And he had a new understanding of what it meant to be human, small, fragile, but full of meaning. Their first journey took them to a small star system at the edge of a galaxy. A young planet shimmered with life, forests covering its surface, oceans glinting in the sunlight of its two suns. Riven sensed something wrong before he even saw it. Energy readings from the planet pulsed erratically. He could feel the fear of the creatures there, tiny beings that had never known dragons or humans beyond their own world. "Do you see them?" Elthyra asked. "Do you feel their fear?" Riven nodded. The symbol on his hand pulsed faster and he focused. He did not need to speak aloud. The dragons understood his thoughts. Orethos and Virelius spread their wings and descended toward the planet. Riven followed in his mind, guiding their movements, showing them how to approach gently, how to observe without causing harm. The dragons landed carefully, wings folding to avoid frightening the inhabitants. Riven stepped forward mentally, sending a signal of calm and hope. The creatures looked up, curious but not afraid. Slowly they began to understand that the dragons were not a threat, that Riven was a friend. And in that moment Riven realized something profound. Humans could guide with understanding, not fear. That was their power. Days passed as Riven led the dragons from system to system. He learned how to use the frequency, sending calm, gentle energy to worlds in turmoil. Conflicts were resolved not with force but with patience. Planets on the verge of chaos found peace. Riven guided dragons to protect ecosystems, rescue creatures and restore balance. Every success filled him with awe, not pride. He was small, yet his choices mattered across the galaxy. One evening as they rested near a distant moon, Riven looked at Elthyra. "Do you think humans can really change the universe?" he asked. The dragon tilted her head. "You already have," she replied. "We dragons have strength and wisdom, but humans have heart. That is why we follow you. You show us the meaning of hope." Riven smiled faintly. He thought of Earth, of the simple life he had left behind. He missed it, but he understood now that his journey was larger than himself. He was not a hero in the way stories told. He was a boy who listened, who cared, and who guided. And that made him extraordinary. The dragons circled above the moon, wings shimmering in the starlight. Riven raised his hand and the symbol pulsed in response. Together they moved through the galaxy, a silent fleet guided by a boy who had once been ordinary. Worlds watched as the dragons approached, not with fear but with curiosity. And wherever they went, life thrived, nurtured by a boy's understanding, and the ancient power of dragons awakened at last. Weeks turned into months and Riven's confidence grew. He learned to sense trouble before it happened, to guide dragons to intervene without harming, to balance power with compassion. Orethos, Virelius, and Elthyra became his mentors, friends, and companions. Riven realized that leadership was not about control, it was about connection, respect, and vision. One day as they floated above a bright nebula, Riven looked at the dragons. "Thank you," he whispered, though they could not hear it aloud. They bowed slightly as if acknowledging the gratitude but also the truth. They were learning from him as much as he learned from them. Riven Hale, the boy who had once been ordinary, now led ancient beings across the stars. He was not feared. He was respected, trusted, and followed. Every pulse of energy from the symbol on his hand reminded him that even the smallest human could change the universe if guided by heart and understanding. As the ship lifted toward the edge of a new galaxy, Riven looked at the stars ahead. They were countless, endless, and full of possibilities. And he knew this. The dragons would follow him not because he was strong but because he cared. Because he was human. Because he believed that life, every fragile, precious life, was worth protecting. The hum of the symbol in his hand matched the rhythm of the dragon's wings, steady and strong. Riven took a deep breath, feeling the connection stretch across space through planets, stars, and galaxies. He had become something extraordinary not by choice alone, but because he had listened, cared, and acted. And so, the boy who had been ordinary became the guide of the stars, leading dragons across the universe, not with fear or force, but with hope, understanding, and the courage to believe that even a human could make a difference. The galaxies watched, and for the first time in millennia the ancient dragons bowed, not out of fear but out of respect for a boy who saw the universe differently. Riven smiled. The journey was just beginning.